It will be going live in just 1 minute. You don't want to listen to me sing. Sorry. I'm punishing any of you who tuned in on time. That is not nice of me. Let me get rid of this red screen there. All right, we are Secrets of Safety Dog, and we've gone live at 1 p.m. on Mondays. Of course, I wasn't live last weekend because it was the Thanksgiving long weekend. Hopefully all of you enjoyed your long weekend. If you are an American tuning in, then of course you still have your long weekend coming up, which is awesome. Speaking of American Thanksgiving long weekend, I will put a note or a link to this in the show notes below. Straighten that out. Virtual driver meeting. I'm so excited to be partnering with a KRTS, Kim Richardson Transportation, and we are putting on two virtual driver meetings over the Thanksgiving long weekend. Let me just check my notes here. They are the 27th and 28th. That's the Friday and the Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern time for 2 hours. I am one of the presenters, but what I'm really excited about is Carrie Warakowski. We'll just call her Carrie from CVSA is joining us. Carrie is joining us from CVSA, and she's going to be talking about pre- and post-trip inspections right across North America and how vital they are. Stuff that every driver should be listening to and talking about. Then I will be on, and of course, we're heading into the winter driving season, so we will be talking about, or I will be discussing, safe following distance and winter driving, and a few of those things like black ice and stuff like that. So enough of that. That's the advertisement for that. I put the link in the show notes below. You can call Kim Sytsma-Hill over at KRTS for more information. So that's the first thing. Let's get into the news. And I really think that this week we've got a lot that's interesting here. So this one, for those of you who've tuned in on a fairly regular basis or somewhat regular basis, may know that I am a huge Tesla fan. Autonomous driving intrigues the heck out of me. And I do believe it's coming to our trucking industry. It's certainly coming to cars. Look at this. GM gets the green light to operate true driverless Chevy Bolts, and I believe that was in San Francisco. They are operating a few cars in the San Francisco area. Yes, it is San Fran, as it says right there. So it's really kind of neat, I think, that we are heading that way. I do believe truck driver jobs are safe for a long, long time yet. I think it'll start off at least the way the airline industry has done it, where, as you probably know, planes can take off and land all by themselves, but they still have to have a licensed airline pilot at the controls in case something goes wrong. And I truly believe the trucking industry will be operating the same way for many, many years to come. If you're just getting into this great industry, then I think you're going to have a very long career going forward. Second thing, a bit of a Canadian flavor to this week's news. Humboldt London area trucking magnate donates $3 million. Well, this is Verspeten Cartage. Archie and Irene Verspeten donated $3 million to the local hospital to help fight cancer. And I, for one, Archie, would like to thank you. I've never met you. I've been a respectful competitor when I was with TNT. Verspeten was always a competitor to TNT and one of the good competitors out there. Did things right. So Archie Verspeten, thank you for giving back. It's part of our humble trucking industry that we do love to give back. Next, and again, a little bit on the good feeling stuff here. This Illinois trooper says, I got your back. You know, and I've put all the links in the show notes below here, but this trooper helped make a tricky turn a little bit safer. And I, for one, I don't think we get enough of this good stuff out there in recognition of those who do help us and those who support us. So big stuff out there. I just wanted you to be aware of. Next, drivers wearing earbuds, even if the cell phone is dead, still considered distracting driving. Again, part of our seems like Canadian flavor, but the BC Supreme Court upheld this ruling, and this driver was convicted of distracted driving because he had earbuds in. So not good, obviously. Never drive with earbuds in. And there's better things than that nowadays. So, getting away from Canada for a minute, U.S. Transportation Command studies SpaceX rockets as they move freight around the world. I thought this was interesting because they've actually signed a contract with the thought that the rocket can transport cargo very quickly, obviously, from one point to another. I thought this was really interesting. It just shows how our transportation industry is evolving and changing. So, as it says here, think about it. In less than an hour, they can deliver a payload. Wow, that is huge. And will that impact us in the transportation industry? Not for many years to come, in my opinion, because who can afford to hire a rocket to transport something other than governments? But governments will be doing it. So very interesting, I think. Next one, trucking company involved in the Birmingham interstate crash had safety violations. This is really up my alley for Safety Dawg. If you can imagine whether the news industry knows how to read your SMS, or if you're from Ontario, CVOR scores, it doesn't matter. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't know how to interpret the data, but they're going to put the data out there. That's the important thing to recognize. They are going to use it, and they are going to put it out there, even though they don't know what the heck it all means. So if you look at this, they're talking about here, they've been randomly inspected 216 times in the past 24 months. Well, is that a high number or a low number? We don't know, because without knowing the fleet size, what would you know? The inspectors did say that they were placed out of service 6.5% of the time. Again, without a reference point of referencing it back to what is the national average in the States, which is here at 4.5. So it tells us that they weren't in good shape. They are using this in social media, in their media campaign. Can you imagine what a lawyer would be doing with this? This is one of the reasons you need to keep your SMS under control, your national safety code, if you're Canadian, under control, and be really pushing it back all the time. And another instance of bad news, again, continuing with the Canadian flavor, a truck driver charged after hitting the overpass on the QEW and garbage was strewn. Well, this wasn't drinking. This driver was impaired by drugs. Is the alleged allegement or the charge impaired by drugs? This does not reflect well on our trucking industry at all. And again, this makes front page news, not something that you want your company pictured in. All right, so that's it for the news this week. What else is happening? I just want to let you know that this week's guest on the Doggone It Trucking podcast was is Shri, coming up on Friday. Sorry, that was Shri. We just taped Shri today, so that's top of mind. The guest this week is Matt Richardson from KRTS, and we do talk a little bit more about the driver safety meeting and how excited KRTS and Safety Dawg are to be putting this on. Really excited to have Carrie from CVSA on board with us to help educate truck drivers. With COVID and everything that is out now, it's hard to hold in-person driver meetings. So I would encourage you to at least investigate the idea of a virtual truck driver meeting. The feedback from the industry so far has been that our pricing is extremely fair. Some people have even said it is too good. But that's the pricing. We set the points, and you are invited to join us. Reach out to Kim Sytsma-Hill. So that's Matt. Matt and I are talking about the whys, the wheres, how you do it on the Dawg on It Trucking podcast. Next Friday, or this coming Friday coming up, we have Shri from Vegans on the show. And Shri, we get into a little bit of a founder story about how what motivated Shri to start a safety consulting company back in 2011. But most of the time we're taking a deep dive into analytics for your safety department. And I really thought this was a great interview. So that's coming up this Friday. Out now, listen to Matt Richardson talking from KRTS. I think that's it. All right, say hi, whoever's on there. For some reason, where did if you give me a shout there, where did my comments go? We had 2 listeners, and now there we go. There's the comments. Give me a shout, say hi, and I will reach out. All right, with that is the end. The Safety Dog's out till next Monday at 1 o'clock. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you all. Bye.